Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to do a quick overview of Eternal Strands, which comes out on January 28th. This is a new action RPG that takes place in the magical region of the Enclave. Years ago, the Enclave was the home to a group of magic users called Weavers. However, it was sealed off over a half-century ago after a series of arcane disasters within the area called the Surge led to decades of war and economic collapse. Being blamed for the damage caused in years of unrest, in present day, magic use is now shunned and Weavers are treated as outcasts with access back into the Enclave thought to be impossible. You play the role of Bryn, a young adventurer looking to uncover the secrets of her Weaver past. Wanting to find a way into the now sealed off Enclave, Bryn joins up with a group of fellow Weavers who discover a potential path through the magical barrier that prevents anyone from entering. Upon arriving, your Weaver band sets up a camp and you begin expeditions into the Enclave to uncover what happened here and why. So now that takes us to where we are currently, which is the camp within the Enclave. So this acts as your kind of home base of operations where you can interact with the members of your party, pick up quest lines and upgrade your gear, and you have a stash that you can put items in and things like that. So I'll start with a tour of this area, which I think will highlight a lot of the aspects of this game and kind of give you a good feel of what this game is all about. And then actually we'll get into exploring the Enclave, the movement system and the combat and various other aspects. So first off, taking a look at the crafting system, which I think is really cool in this game. That is with Sola. She's kind of your blacksmith character for armor and weapons and things. So you can see the menu on the left there, but looking at the crafting, if we go into that, there's a variety of things that you can make. There's swords and armor pieces, and we'll take a look a little bit more when we get into combat with some of these things. But for each category, when you're out there in the wild, you can find blueprints or what are called designs. So I found a couple different designs for armor pieces, and you can see what they look like on your character on the right there. But the way this works is, for example, if we wanted to make this points half plate, you can see the crafting material requirements, and there's a variety of different categories. However, what's cool about this is, for example, we need 6 pieces of tanned resource. However, if we go into that, you can see there's a variety of different types of tanned resource. So again, when we get to kind of exploring, I'll talk a little bit more about collecting resources, but as you're out there, you find all these pieces, and you can see I have a variety of different types of tanned resources. So we can kind of customize the build of this armor by choosing what type of material I want to use. So I could use thick hide if I wanted to as my tanned resource requirement, and you can see it's going to give me those attributes. So I get 7 armor. However, if I were to use fleeced hide, a little less armor, but it has a lot of cold resistance, as opposed to flame turn leather, which has really high heat resistance. So you can kind of take the same armor piece, but then I could build it as a heat resistant armor piece or a cold resistant armor piece or a high armor piece, depending on the quality of the material. So for each one of those, if we go down to like forged, I've got steel, I've got red iron, brumite, and each one of these comes with its own characteristics and pros and cons, as you can see. Then same thing with woven, etc. So you kind of get the idea, but really cool system where you can kind of customize your build for each piece. And then also, if you notice, the color changes on my character as well. So this is going to make it look green visually. That has like kind of a blue color, pink, etc. So really cool system, I think, for their crafting in this game, where you can kind of customize it and build a variety of different options. So that is Sola, and then up here we've got Sev. Right now you can just talk to him. He's got some dialogue stuff that you can go through. He may have some abilities that get unlocked later in the game, I'm not sure. And then over here we've got Dom. So he is going to be your guy for managing your strand abilities, which are basically spells. So if we go in here, you can see the ones that I have unlocked currently, and then each one you can unlock new abilities and upgrade and things like that with him. So I'll talk a little bit more about this when we get into combat and kind of show how the spells work, which are really cool, but that is where you would manage all of that. And then finally, over on this side of the camp, we've got Lane, and she is kind of the alchemist character. So right now I can just talk to her. But going through some quests, she's like giving me some potions and things like that. So again, she may have some upgrade abilities later as well. But right now I can just talk to her. There's also codex compiling, if you see that grayed out. I'm not entirely sure if there's any benefits to doing this or if it's just sort of a collectathon, but you can see all of these different categories, and as you go out, you can collect pieces of codex, and then if you get a whole category, you can then have her compile it, I guess. But I'm honestly not sure if there's like actual benefits to that or if it's just sort of for completion's sake. And then moving down the stairs here to Casman. So she's going to allow you to upgrade your camp, which essentially means upgrading the individual members of your party. So if you go down to upgrade station, you can see each one of your party members where you can actually do things with them. There's upgrades for those. So for example, with Sola, I could upgrade her to level 3, and then that's going to allow me to upgrade my weapons and armors to level 3 as well. And then you can see the price here, which is 20 resources down at the bottom, if you can see that. So that is by salvaging your existing resources. So you can go in here, and if you're not going to, for example, use rough leather, I could salvage that into 6 resources instead, and then get up to 20, and then you could go back and upgrade Casman's caravan to level 2. So that's really important as well as you progress. Again, I haven't gotten very far, but by doing that, then you'll be able to unlock those higher level abilities for each one of your party members. And then maybe the most important, you can pet this little guy over here. And then moving across the way here is Aurea. So she's kind of the leader, I guess, if you want to call her that. So she doesn't really do anything right now, but she will be kind of responsible for like main storyline quests and things like that. So you interact with her quite a bit, and that's where she's at. And then finally, probably the last important call out of what's been unlocked so far, in my camp at least, is your tent. So you can sleep here. There is a kind of a day-night cycle where I haven't gotten too much into this, but there are some aspects where like things only happen at night, things only happen at day. So you can sleep there, and then this is where your stash is. So as you come back from the Enclave, this is where all of your resources that you collect go in there. So that is where you can find that. All right, so that is kind of how the whole camp system works in a nutshell. Now we can take a look at actually going out into the Enclave, playing the game a little bit, and how the whole gameplay loop and mechanics work of the game. So starting off, more than likely you'll be working on a quest of some kind. So the quest system is pretty standard. There's a quest log with various active quests that you've picked up, which you can get by talking to NPCs. They'll have little icons above their head, and you'll find items out in the wild that will kick off a side quest and things like that. So pretty standard system. Also, one other thing that I didn't call out with Casman is that you can choose your kind of loadout system. So change your equipment here, and then pick your gear that you want to go out with. Once you have this selected and you leave, you can't change this while you're out there. So you kind of have to lock this in and then leave. And then also there is a fast travel system, which is what this structure is. So this is what's called a loom gate, and then you can find other loom gates as you progress. So you can fast travel here to various regions. So I only have 2 of them so far, but if I wanted to go to this region, I could use that loom gate. If I wanted to go here, I could use that loom gate. So that is how the fast travel system works. So as you explore new areas of the Enclave, you'll gradually fill out portions of your map, which you can bring up anytime to help guide you. You'll also unlock a few additional navigational tools, including the ability to find shortcuts back to the camp, as well as an item called a loom shard, which also allows for immediate fast travel back to the camp as well. While running around each region, there will be plenty of things to hunt down and collect, including a variety of resources and the various codexes to add to your logs. Resources can be found in all sorts of places, but generally come from logical sources. Cotton from plants, metals from rocks, but you can also get drops from defeated enemies and inside hidden chests. Your inventory space is limited though, so once you've collected 12 different resource types, you'll either need to head back to camp or start making decisions on what to keep and what to drop. Also be careful of death, as once you die, most of your collected resources will be lost. You are given a safe pouch, however, which allows you to choose 3 of those items to transport back to camp. Everything else will be gone forever. In terms of movement, I would say the climbing mechanic is one of the game's stronger points. You're given a lot of freedom of what you can climb and makes exploring the world a lot more rewarding. It kind of reminds me a lot of the system used in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, if you've played those games. I took advantage of this quite a few times to get up to higher points to survey the area and kind of get a bearing on where I was. I was also really impressed on the way the animation system handled certain situations that I honestly thought there was no way the game would actually let me climb. Now moving into combat and your abilities and survivability and kind of everything that goes along with fighting enemies and whatnot. So starting off, I'll just kind of generally go through the arsenal of tools that you have and how they work. Starting off with weapons. So you start out with this kind of default sword and shield, as you can see here. It's got a couple different moves with it. You can just kind of spam the attack button to do some combos. You can also do a sprinting attack, as you see here. And then also there's the ability to roll and dodge, so you can incorporate that to do kind of a thrusting attack. You can also do a charged heavy attack, as you see here, and then also use the shield to block. So as I was doing that, if you notice, there's a stamina bar that depletes. So as you attack and roll and dodge and whatnot, that will deplete. And then if you run out, you'll kind of lose your breath and have to get that restored back to full first. Next up, if you want to switch weapons, you have this ability wheel that you can pull up, which slows down time when you open up this. And you can see the weapons down in the bottom right corner. So the strand abilities are in the middle. We'll talk about that in a second. But the bow and arrow, pretty standard. You just kind of aim and shoot. There's no ammo, it seems like, so you just kind of have unlimited arrows and you can just kind of fire over and over and over again. You can hold it down to charge for a longer, more accurate attack, though. And then finally, we've got the two-handed weapon, which also has its own set of moves, kind of like the sword and shield, as you can see there. You can do a rolling attack. And then also, with this one, the button that you would use to use the shield for blocking, it kind of has its own unique move there, as you can see. You can also charge that as well for unique attacks. So that one's got a variety of attacks as well. So each weapon seems to have its own kind of move set that you can do. And then obviously you can unlock different weapons for each type at camp as well. So those are your weapons. And honestly, I wasn't too impressed with the kind of standard combat in this game. I don't really think it's that fun to use. There's nothing really fancy about it. It's just kind of generic. You just kind of run up and attack, as you see here. That being said, though, I think where this game can kind of thrive in terms of its combat system is to incorporate the strand abilities. I think that is what's going to kind of make or break this game in the long term in terms of playability. So I do see a lot of opportunity for some really cool kind of combos and situations where you can combine all these with your weapons and whatnot to do some really cool things, which I'll show a couple examples of what I've done. But starting off, just kind of giving you an idea of how they work. Starting off with this one, you just kind of can select and manipulate items, and you can throw them and whatnot, which is really cool. You can also use that on enemies, so you can pick up enemies and toss them off, or you can pick up items and then throw them at enemies. There's also the ensnaring blast, which is kind of under the same tree. So this, you can create sort of a suction black hole thing, and then you can blow it up. Next is the ice wall. So this can create ice, and then you can freeze enemies and whatnot. And then finally, we've got Drake's Breath, which can thaw ice as well as set things on fire, as you see here. So again, I'll show some actual gameplay of me using these on actual enemies. However, just kind of one quick example of some cool ideas for some combos that you can potentially do with this stuff. So for example, if I get Ice Wall, and before I say that, kind of a nice little touch here, if you notice my cape changes depending on the spell that I choose. But anyways, I could, like, for example, create some ice here, and then I can switch to Weaver's Grasp. Then I can pick up the ice, and then I can, throw that as ammo. So again, I don't quite know what's all going to get unlocked here, but I could see a lot of really cool potential in terms of utilizing synergies across different strands. And then finally, the last thing I just want to call out is the health and potion system. So if you see in the bottom left corner, I've got my health bar and then my strand bar as well. But the potion, you can see the icon where I've got 3 health potions. And then I've also got a variety of inventory there as well. So this is your health, so you can drink that, and you can see it restores my health. You'll find these in boxes and things as you play to refill that. Then this is for fire resistance. This one's for cold resistance. So there's some areas that are cold. If you run in there and you don't have either cold gear, you can drink a potion to give you resistance to that. And then this is the item to fast travel back to the camp as well. So you've got access to those on your toolbar. So taking a look at this example here, you can see I use Weaver's Grasp to pick up an enemy and throw it off a cliff. This only works on smaller enemies, but can be a really simple way to get rid of minions. This spell can also be used to pick up and throw items in the environment as well, especially these explosive plants, which ended up creating a small fire on the ground after defeating the enemy. However, with the use of the ice wall, you can quickly take care of that to pick up any needed loot. And then finally, here's an example of using ice wall's freeze ability as well, which is really useful when trying to deal with multiple enemies at once. And then finally wrapping things up, taking a quick look at some of the boss fights I've done, which I've only done a couple, but here's an example of fighting one of the arcs, which is a really cool fight and kind of incorporates all the things I've talked about with the climbing mechanic and the use of strands and the combat and whatnot. So I think this is where the game was really going to shine and what I'm most excited about. Again, I've only taken on a few of these bosses so far, but the experience with them has been pretty cool once you figure out their weak points and how they work.
I was worried we might lose our chance to get the carapace, but you secured it.
And then here's a little bit of footage of me fighting a Drake, which I was honestly getting frustrated with at first as he was just constantly flying around breathing down fire on me. That is until I remembered to utilize the tools at my disposal, so not only being able to freeze him, sticking him to the ground, but also the ability to climb on top of his back, ride him through the air while attacking, ultimately allowing me to take him down in a satisfying victory.
A flame strand could always do with a little heat.